I'm going to ask you, and you can say it how you said it, but why are people afraid of their own power?
Okay, so let's take everything we were talking about. So the ego is simply the belief that I am separate from you. Okay? All it is a false belief.
Right.
It's a hallucination, really. It's the belief that I'm separate. The truth is, there's no place where one person here stops and another starts. That's the level of spiritual sight. But my body's eyes tell me several people in the room and we're all separate. Okay. That is what my ego would have me believe. Okay? Because the ego is the belief that I am separate.
Mm-hmm.
The ego's peak experience is my pain. All my pain resulting from that. And
wow,
whatever.
I mean, I don't mean to pause your flow, but that's a very important thing that you said. The ego's peak experience is my pain.
Right. Right.
Wow.
So it's like the Course in Miracles says it dictates in love is seek but never find. You're always looking, but it will always sabotage you when you're just about there. But hold on, let's talk about this. So, I mean, that's what we're doing here. But so the ego, your mental energy is so great that wherever you're thinking, the power of your thought will foster it. Now, the ego is my belief I'm separate. If I look around the room and I actually no, there's no place where she stops and I start. There's no place where he stops and I start. There's no place where he stops and she starts. We're all just one big ocean. The Course in Miracles says, you're like a wave in the ocean, thinking you're separate from other waves. But there's really no place where one wave stops and the other wave starts. But think of the psychological difference. If I think of myself as one wave surrounded by all the other waves in the ocean, how could I not live in constant terror? But if I realize, because I'm always in a fear of annihilation by some wave that's bigger than me. But if I realize I'm just one with the ocean, hey, it moves, I move, it moves, I'm safe here. So the ego is my belief that I'm separate. So if I look around the room and I go, wow, on the level of the body, we're all separate, but actually we're all souls and we're all here, my ego will go, no, it's dangerous for you to think that. Why? Because to the ego, that's annihilation. It's the ego's annihilation. In my understanding, in any moment, that love is all that's real here, my ego cannot be. So that's why we're afraid of it, because the ego mind is saying, no, you'll be unsafe. You can't just make yourself vulnerable. You can't just make yourself defenseless. You've got to put your dukes up here. You've got to protect yourself. You've got to do me first. Don't you understand? It's your self-hatred posing as your self-love.
Oof.
So I know. It is the ultimate mind fuck. That's what the ego is.
Yeah.
So of course it says you can't just surrender and walk into a room and love everybody. You'll never make any money. You'll never have a life. You'll never have relationships. It's very dangerous out there. And the ego is telling you that because the moment you look at the ego and go, actually, every time I've listened to you, it's been worse rather than better. Once you even begin to question it. The problem is it's instinctive. We're taught these things from such an early time in our lives so that, as the Course says, natural thinking feels unnatural to you. Unnatural think feels natural to you. You are brought up to instinctively go for the judgmental thought, the blaming thought, the attack, and the defense, and the defense. And that's why, just like with everything else, that's why you work. That's why you pray. That's why you meditate. That's why you do the Course. That's why you do whatever your form of meditation or practice is, to work your muscles. I love the yoga image because it's like you've been sitting this way. No, sit this way. All the energy in your body will be different. Well, there's a correlative to that. And, oh, poor me. Nobody loves me. No, why don't you? I learned what I learned, and I'm going to be a better woman now. You'll have a completely different life depending on where your mind goes about the experience.
And interesting that you draw in the images of the body. There's been actually pretty profound studies about how changing your posture, like if you get into like a posture with your chest up and your head up, or your arms out in a position of power, your minds, your thoughts, your mind, all things change. Whereas if you get in this kind of hunch, slumped, head down posture, your actual thoughts and feelings will correlate to your body as well. Another actually is just side tangent. People who get so much Botox that they can no longer smile, they've found that
Messing with something.
it messes with their ability to actually experience the emotions correlated with the face actually moving into a proper, full, radiant smile. Right. So there's elements here between the correlation between body and mind too, that in this Cartesian dualism world that's trying to actually not only separate us from each other, but separate the mind, spirit, and body from each other. And it's all substrates of different densities.
And the organization of civilization mirrors that as well. Another body position that's interesting is this. This is the wand. This is direct vertical ascent. So Moses had a rod. All of the wizards had wands. The fairy godmother had a wand. She touches the pumpkin, it turns into a coach. She touches the rags, they turn into a beautiful ball gown. She touches with the wand the mice, they turn into coachmen. And notice it's always with light. So the Course in Miracles says light is understanding. So that's your vertical consciousness. We're trained to always be on the horizontal. But our power lies in the vertical. And so this one is also very, very...
And for those listening not on video, she's in the prayer pose with her hands, in front of her chest.
On earth as it is in heaven, not on earth as it is in New York. It's on earth as it is in higher consciousness, not anything in the world.
It's evoking the image of someone in a prayer pose here,
exactly. That's
versus
my point.
Someone pointing.
Exactly.
You over there, you red, you blue, you this, you that.
Right.
All of this pointing is actually reinforcing this myth, what Charles Eisenstein calls the myth of separation.
Right. It is a myth. It's an illusion of separation.
Mm-hmm. And nonetheless, this force, this separating force was part of God's design to allow us to have
not
individual
what the Course in Miracles
experiences.
Says.
Okay, but somehow, in some way, we do have different bodies. We are.
Yeah, but let's talk about that moment.
Okay, let's talk about it.
So the Course in Miracles says it happened millions of years ago in time as you know it, which is interesting. Although in reality, it never happened at all. In reality, it never happened at all because it's just a hallucination. It's referred to as a moment when the Son of God forgot to laugh. And if you ask, the Course says, if you start to ask, well, why did we ever do that? Why did we ever have a thought that was separate? Its response is, basically it says, that's the kind of question the ego would ask. Don't let questions of theology delay you. Go directly for the experience. So the closest you can get to understanding why we ever separated ourselves from love is to ask yourself, why are you doing it right now? Even as I said that, I thought of a situation in my life. That was for me, this last one, because I'm not going to call him. No, he can call me. I'm not calling him this afternoon. No. And so when I said that, that one was for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think there's also, there's a beauty in the unique art that we can express as separate incarnations of the one divine, right? There is a unique quality about us that the way that you speak and write is different than the way that anybody else can, or the way that you can create art, the way that I can write poems, the way that I can sing or dance or whatever.
Kaleidoscope. Mm-hmm. The Course in Miracles says all of the children of God are special and none of the children of God are special.
Mm-hmm. And that's the paradox.
And it says that the people on the planet who've achieved the most, this is really amazing to me, the people on the planet who've achieved the most have achieved a fraction of what all of us are capable of.
Yeah. Except for maybe those like Jesus who
they're already there.
Arguably actualized their potential to the fullest. And so in this idea, for me, imitatio Christi, to imitate what would Jesus do is the more common way. What would Jesus do is Jesus was Jesus all the way. He became the most He actualized his potential to the fullest degree that he could possibly actualize. And that's the calling, is how do you be the most Marianne that you can be, so that it merges an ontic identity with the divine, so that your will and God's will align.
So he says in the Course in Miracles, and this is how I open the book, he says, I am in a state, he says, I don't have anything that you don't have. The only difference between us is that I don't have anything else. I am in a state that is only potential in you. Now, what the Course says is, having achieved that state, the full actualization of the Christ mind. Michelangelo was asked, how do you create a statue? He said, I go into the quarry, I see this big piece of marble. In my mind, God has already created the Pietà. God has already created David. God has already created Moses. My job is to get rid of the excess marble. Okay, so all of us have within us what Jesus has. The difference between us is he has burned through anything not that Christ mind or perfect love. But what the Course says is, having achieved that state, he is then authorized by God. Should we request it? Because if we don't request it, it would be a violation of our free will. But if we request it, he is authorized to actually enter into our thought system. He becomes a psychological guide. So when you said just now, what would Jesus do? The Course in Miracles student wouldn't ask what he would do, would say to him, what should I do?
Right.
Right? And he says, my mind joined with your mind can shine away the ego. A miracle is a divine intercession from a thought system beyond our own. Mm-hmm. That he, and once again, it's not an exclusive Jesus, but he is actually, the Course says that in the moment that we had that first millions of years ago in time as we know it, although in reality it never occurred at all. In that moment, because God is perfect and answers all problems the moment they occurred, he couldn't force us back to love, because love does not force. In that moment, however, the Course says he created an eternal communication link between himself and his separated sons. It's an aspect of our consciousness, by whatever you call it. Mm-hmm. Jesus is one embodiment of it. To call on him is to call on the Holy Spirit. To call on the Holy Spirit is to call on him. There are other names. And it's a bridge of perception from your neurosis, your craziness, your judgment, your blame, to, oh, I get it. It's not even about me. Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, I forgive him. Let's go to lunch. Right? There is someone and something that can guide you, and he is that, should you choose. And then that goes back to what we were talking about before, that he is that evolutionary elder brother. He is someone, as the Course says, he lived on the earth, but thought only the thoughts of heaven. And in him, heaven and earth became as one. So in the Bible, when it says heaven and earth shall be as one, that's our evolutionary potential. Now, that's not, the point is this, it's not hard to believe in a room where everybody's being nice to everybody. And when everybody's being nice to everybody, this isn't that hard to practice. You know, the issue is the moments when somebody's not being nice to you, when there is injustice, when there are triggers, when there's trauma. And that's where the rubber meets the road. Mm-hmm. And also for people, like most of the people in this room, that we remember that even if I'm not traumatized, what about the people over there who are? Because they had a different birth lottery. Am I going to turn my head? It's just many, many layers of all of this. Mm.